Six Flags America in Maryland only has one more weekend left before closing forever. If you've not been to this park or want to get a final visit, this is your final chance. This video will discuss the current state of the park, why it's closing, and what may happen with the rides in sight. This park has a very complex history. It started back in 1974 as a wildlife preserve. In 1980, the property was transformed into a theme park known as Wild World. Tierco purchased the park in 1992 and renamed it Adventure World. They immediately began investing in the park, adding 4 different roller coasters in a 5-year span. Tierco would later become Premier Parks. In 1998, Premier purchased Six Flags. Then in 1999, the park was rebranded as Six Flags America. This led to a massive expansion. The park size essentially doubled, as they opened the back section behind Wild One. They added 5 new roller coasters in a 3-year span, including a hypercoaster with Superman Ride of Steel. Six Flags added large expansions like this to several of their parks in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Many parks saw large attendance increases. Meanwhile, Six Flags America always underperformed relative to its market. The park is located just a short drive from Washington D.C. This is a massive metro area that should print money. You have a residential population of 6.3 million, plus all the tourists coming to the nation's capital. However, Six Flags America has always had a negative reputation. Much of this comes from rowdy guest behavior, stemming from some highly publicized incidents primarily around Fright Fest. The park also was not known for having the best appearance or atmosphere. It also was not the best option for families, especially since the kids area in the back half of the park was frequently closed. Families are the largest spenders on average, so them not visiting the park did not help. Now the thrill ride lineup was good. In the early 2000s, it was very competitive relative to the other nearby parks. However, Six Flags America remained stagnant from that point. Meanwhile, parks like King's Dominion, Busch Gardens Williamsburg, Hershey Park, and Six Flags Great Adventure continued to add new coasters to easily surpass what Six Flags America had. Those parks were also considered to be better options for families. Locals in Maryland preferred to visit those other parks, even if they had to drive further, so it became a self-fulfilling prophecy of sorts. Six Flags America's attendance underperformed, so locals would not go. Because the locals wouldn't go, the park did not receive as much investment as it should relative to its location, so Six Flags America limped along for 2 decades. In 2024, Six Flags completed a merger with Cedar Fair. While the new company is called Six Flags, it really is more Cedar Fair than Six Flags. Cedar Fair is a company who was not afraid to close a park. They famously closed Geauga Lake in 2007, just 3 years after acquiring it. Then they announced in 2022 that they would close California's Great America within a decade. Due to the accumulated debt, the new Six Flags chain said they would be looking at portfolio optimization. This would include closing expensive, problematic, and/or less popular rides, and more drastically, it would include selling off or even closing certain parks. In May of 2025, the chain announced they would close Six Flags America after the 2025 season. To me, this was not too surprising. Six Flags owned 3 other parks, all within a 3-hour drive, and all those other parks were more highly regarded, and the large tract of land that Six Flags America was located on was worth a fortune. Land in the surrounding DC area is extremely valuable, and this park owned 500 acres of land. So while it was possible that Six Flags America was turning a profit of some kind, the chain found it more economically beneficial to close the park, sell the land, and reallocate its assets. This leads into the next part of this video. Which rides will be saved? I will start with the coasters. There are 9 different roller coasters here. I think there are 2 coasters that have no shot of being relocated. One is Batwing, the final Vekoma Flying Dutchman. This model was extremely problematic. Only 3 of them were ever built. This particular installation has suffered multiple mechanical issues in the past few years, which is why it permanently closed a few months ago. 2 is Roar, one of the earliest GCI wood coasters. Wood coasters are more difficult to relocate than steel coasters, and this was not particularly well revered. The PTC trains really beat this track up through the years. I think there are 5 coasters that are unlikely to be relocated, but it could happen. One is Firebird. This was the original B&M coaster. It was moved once from Six Flags Great America to Six Flags America, and later given floorless trains. While it could work at one of the chain's smaller parks, I think it is finished given its age and rough ride. I think the chain will find it more beneficial to relocate the trains elsewhere, possibly to Carowinds to transform Vortex into a floorless coaster. 2 is Professor Screamore's Skywinder. This is an older Vekoma SLC. The tracking on this one is really rough. While 3 of the 26 parks in the chain are missing an inverted coaster, I think it is more likely their trains are moved. In 2024, this ride received 2 updated trains with vest restraints. There are 4 other SLCs in the Six Flags chain that still run the older trains. This will be a major upgrade there. 3 is Joker's Jinx. This is an older Premier launch coaster. It's a good ride, but is expensive to operate. Whereas most modern launch coasters use LSMs, this ride uses LIMs. These use a lot of power. I think it is more likely it becomes a part donor for the other Premier coasters in the chain. 4 will be a Stinger, Superman Ride of Steel. This Intamin Hyper coaster is a wonderful ride with some powerful ejector airtime. Fit-wise, it will be amazing in any park lacking a mega coaster, but this coaster will be tricky and costly to relocate given its sheer size. You need a park with a lot of flat land. I think it would be a great fit at Six Flags St. Louis, and I think it could possibly work in that park's parking lot if they really wanted to, because we know Six Flags loves parking lot coasters. 5 is Wild One. This ride has some good airtime, and more importantly, is historic. It is over 100 years old, which is why I think it has a slim shot of being saved. As I said earlier, it is harder to relocate a wood coaster. This is why we have not seen it happen in almost 15 years. Meanwhile, multiple steel coasters are relocated annually. If this ride were to be saved, I feel like it would be a park outside the Six Flags chain. My pipe dream would be if it were to return to a beachfront location in Massachusetts, but I know that probably is not happening. Then I think there are 2 coasters that are almost guaranteed to be relocated. Ragin' Cajun is a Rivershawn spinning coaster. This ride has been relocated once before, and the model is often found on the fair circuit. It is an easy one to move. This would be a perfect fit at a smaller park missing a spinning and or Wild Mouse coaster. My pick would be Six Flags Great Escape, especially if Canyon Blaster is possibly done operating. They would need another family coaster, and this would work. Great Chase is a Zamperla Kitty coaster. This will be another easy one to move given its small size. I think this would help a park missing a conventional kiddie coaster such as Six Flags St. Louis or Six Flags Great America. It would be pretty ironic if Six Flags America finally donated a ride back to Six Flags Great America after taking a few from that park over the years. Related to that, I could see several of the park's smaller kiddie rides being saved, especially since we saw so many recent surveys to parks in the Six Flags chain talking about refreshed and/or new kids areas. I doubt the Whistle Stop train or the park's far larger Capital Railways train will be saved within the chain though. Now I could see the train and the ladder going to a train museum though. I could potentially see Minuteman Motors antique cars being saved. This was a ride type seen in several recent ride surveys to the other parks as well, and we have seen this ride type relocated before. I think many flat rides will be relocated. The only one I definitely think will be demolished is Voodoo Drop. This Intamin Giant Drop still packs a punch, but the Six Flags chain has already closed multiple rides like it in recent years. The others could be dropped off into many parks with minimal effort. The 2 hot ticket ones will be the Wonder Woman Starflyer and the Harley Quinn Giant Frisbee. I think Wonder Woman could easily work at Six Flags Magic Mountain or Six Flags Great America. Both parks have a vacant flat ride plot in their DC areas, and neither have Starflyers. I think all the Six Flags parks with DC areas already have a giant frisbee, but there are several Cedar Fair properties where the ride could seamlessly drop in. Moving on to the water rides, I think the 3 in the theme park are done. River Rapids rides are tough ones to relocate. Many parks are removing their Shoot the Chutes rides, so I do not see Shipwreck Falls being saved. Then Penguin's Blizzard River is a rare and problematic dinghy slide. Most parks that have had this type of ride have removed them already. I could see some of the newer water slides from Hurricane Harbor being relocated. The Rip Curl Blaster water coaster would work well at several properties. I personally would love to see it at Six Flags New England, since that park recently removed their older water coaster in Typhoon. I also think the Half Pipe and Tornado slides have good shots of being relocated to parks lacking that slide type. But it is all up in the air which rides are saved. I could be totally wrong. What will happen with the site? The park owns over 500 acres, even though only 130 were used during the park's history. With all that land, you could build a lot of different businesses and homes. I suspect it'll be turned into something other than a theme park. That is why I strongly recommend, if you haven't and are able to visit Six Flags America this weekend, or come back for one last visit. It is your last chance. This park got so much hate through the years that I think the park actually became underrated. I released a review video several years ago going in detail, but here's a summary. I think the front half of this park has some genuine charm to it. You have a colonial themed entrance in Main Street. Then the front area has a little theming and atmosphere. It is the back section that definitely feels off. If you ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon, it feels like what a lazy player would do. You have a bunch of off-the-shelf layouts plopped down a field with random pathways haphazardly laid out to connect them. It does not help there are barely any restrooms or food options back there either. Then in terms of rides, this park has a well-rounded coaster lineup. While a majority of the rides here are clones, including Superman, most are still decent to good clones. And then you have 3 completely unique coasters, including the lovely Wild One. And there are some solid non-coaster offerings as well. I know there were points this year when multiple coasters were closed at once, but the park amazingly has the majority of their rides still available for the final weekend. I believe the only attraction the park confirmed is closed is Batwing. I also believe Penguin's Blizzard River may be closed as well, but everything else should be available this weekend. That even includes the River Rapids ride. In the past, this ride was never available in the fall, but the park plans to keep it open through the end of the season so people can have their final visit to the park preserved as well as possible. I am just thankful that Six Flags announced this closure in advance. Last year, Six Flags was blasted for closing a series of coasters with no warning. This most infamously included the world's tallest roller coaster in Kingda Ka. By notifying people months in advance, I was able to get my final visit to the park earlier this month. I was fortunate enough to be able to document my final rides on several coasters and took multiple laps of my favorites, most notably Superman and Wild One. Typically, this park has had low wait times through the years, great for visitors, but bad long-term for business. This was true even when the rides were operated with just one train. This has been true for most of 2025. However, I could see this park getting an influx of crowds for the final weekend, particularly from loyal season pass holders and coaster enthusiasts. I think these people want to give the park a proper farewell. I imagine there will be quite a bit of jockeying among guests who want to get on the final train of both Superman and Wild One. One other warning for those visiting the park on its final day. You may experience heavy traffic leaving at night. Six Flags closes at 6 p.m. The Washington Commanders NFL team has a game at 8:20 p.m., and their stadium is very close by. That is a warning in case anyone is visiting from a distance and needs to make an evening flight once the park closes. While sad to see Six Flags America close, I get it given the park's performance, land value, and other nearby theme parks within the chain. This closure will give the Six Flags chain some debt relief, and several rides could be moved to other parks to beef up their attraction lineups. It really is a bummer this park closed, and I really feel for locals, but I get it from a business perspective. What are your thoughts about Six Flags America? Are you sad to see this park closed? What are your thoughts about the place? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you consider subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster and amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.